It neared and neared. Was that a human form? It grew more distinct, and at last a mighty wave, lifting the whole freight, lodged it upon a rock. A human being bestriding a sea-chest! A human being! Yet was it one? Surely never such had existed before. A misshapen dwarf, with squinting eyes, distorted features, and body deformed, till it became a horror to behold. My blood, lately warming towards a fellow being so snatched from a watery tomb, froze in my heart. The dwarf got off his chest. He tossed his straight, straggling hair from his odious visage. "By St. Beelzebub," he exclaimed, "I have been well bested." He looked round and saw me. "Oh, by the fiend! Here is another ally of the Mighty One. To what saint did you offer prayers, friend, if not to mine? Yet I remember you not on board." I shrank from the monster and his blasphemy. Again he questioned me, and I muttered some inaudible reply. He continued, "Your voice is drowned by this dissonant roar. What a noise the big ocean makes! Schoolboys bursting from their prison are not louder than these waves set free to play. They disturb me. I will no more of their ill-timed brawling. Silence, hoary one! Winds, avaunt! To your homes! Clouds, fly to the antipodes and leave our heaven clear." As he spoke, he stretched out his two long, lank arms, that looked like spiders' claws, and seemed to embrace with them the expanse before him. Was it a miracle? The clouds became broken and fled. The azure sky first peeped out, and then was spread a calm field of blue above us. The stormy gale was exchanged to the softly breathing west. The sea grew calm, the waves dwindled to riplets. "I like obedience even in these stupid elements," said the dwarf. "How much more in the tameless mind of man? It was a well-got-up storm, you must allow, and all of my own making. It was tempting Providence to interchange talk with this magician. But power, in all its shapes, is venerable to man. Awe, curiosity, a clinging fascination, drew me towards him. "Come, don't be frightened, friend," said the wretch. "I am good-humoured when pleased, and something does please me in your well-proportioned body and handsome face, though you look a little woebegone. You have suffered a land, I a sea-wreck. Perhaps I can allay the tempest of your fortunes as I did my own. Shall we be friends?" And he held out his hand. I could not touch it. "Well then, companions, that will do as well. And now, while I rest after the buffeting I underwent just now, tell me why, young and gallant as you seem, you wander thus alone and downcast on this wild seashore." The voice of the wretch was screeching and horrid, and his contortions as he spoke were frightful to behold. Yet he did gain a kind of influence over me, which I could not master, and I told him my tale. When it was ended, he laughed long and loud. The rocks echoed back the sound. Hell seemed yelling around me. "Ho, thou cousin of Lucifer," said he, "so thou too hast fallen through thy pride, and though, bright as the sun of morning, thou art ready to give up thy good looks, thy bride, and thy well-being, rather than submit thee to the tyranny of God. I honour thy choice, by my soul. So thou hast fled, and yield the day, and mean to starve on these rocks, and to let the birds peck out thy dead eyes, while thy enemy and thy betrothed rejoice in thy ruin. Thy pride is strangely akin to humility, methinks." As he spoke, 1,000-fanged thoughts stung me to the heart. "What would you that I should do?" I cried. "I? Oh, nothing, but lie down and say your prayers before you die. But were I you, I know the deed that should be done." I drew near him. His supernatural powers made him an oracle in my eyes. Yet a strangely unearthly thrill quivered through my frame as I said, "Speak! Teach me! What act do you advise?" "Revenge thyself, man! Humble thy enemies! Set thy foot on the old man's neck, and possess thyself of his daughter." "To the cast and west I turn," cried I, "and I see no means. Had I gold, much could I achieve, but poor and single I am powerless." The dwarf had been seated on his chest as he listened to my story. Now he got off. He touched a spring. It flew open. What a mine of gold wealth, of blazing jewels, beaming in pale silver, was displayed therein. A mad desire to possess his treasure was born within me. "Doubtless," I said, "one so powerful as you could do all things." "Nay," said the monster humbly, "I am less omnipotent than I seem. Some things I possess which you may covet, but I would give them all for a small share, or even for a loan of what is yours." "My possessions are at your service," I replied bitterly. "My poverty, my exile, my disgrace, I make a free gift of them all." "Good! I thank you. Add one other thing to your gift, and my treasure is yours." "As nothing is my sole inheritance, what besides nothing would you have?" "Your comely face and well-made limbs." I shivered. Would this all-powerful monster murder me? I had no dagger. I forgot to pray, but I grew pale. "I ask for a loan, not a gift," said the frightful thing. "Lend me your body for 3 days. You shall have mine to cage your soul the while, and in payment my chest. What say you to the bargain? 3 short days." We are told that it is dangerous to hold unlawful talk, and well do I prove the same. Tamely written down, it may seem incredible that I should lend any ear to this proposition. But in spite of his unnatural ugliness, there was something fascinating in a being whose voice could govern earth, air, and sea. I felt a keen desire to comply, for with that chest I could command the world. My only hesitation resulted from a fear that he would not be true to his bargain. Then, I thought, I shall soon die here on these lonely sands, and the limbs he covets will be mine no more. It is worth the chance. And besides, I knew that, by all the rules of art magic, there were formula and odes which none of its practices dared break. I hesitated to reply, and he went on, now displaying his wealth, now speaking of the petty price he demanded, till it seemed madness to refuse. Thus it is. Place our bark in the current of the stream, and down, over fall and cataract it is hurried. Give up our conduct to the wild torrent of passion, and we are away, we know not whither. He swore many an oath, and I adjured him with many a sacred name, till I saw this wonder of power, this ruler of the elements, shiver like an autumn leaf before my words, and as if the spirit spake unwillingly and perforce within him, at last he, with broken voice, revealed the spell whereby he might be obliged, did he wish to play me false, to render up the unlawful spoil. Our warm life-blood must mingle to make and to mar the charm. Enough of this unholy theme. I was persuaded. The thing was done. The morrow dawned upon me as I lay upon the shingles, and I knew not my own shadow as it fell from me. I felt myself changed to a shape of horror, and cursed my easy faith and blind credulity. The chest was there the gold and precious stones for which I had sold the frame of flesh which nature had given me. The sight a little stilled my emotions. 3 days would soon be gone. They did pass. The dwarf had supplied me with a plenteous store of food. At first I could hardly walk, so strange and out of joint were all my limbs, and my voice, it was that of the fiend. But I kept silent, and turned my face to the sun, that I might not see my shadow, and counted the hours, and ruminated on my future conduct. To bring Torella to my feet, to possess my Juliet in spite of him, all this my wealth could easily achieve. During dark night I slept, and dreamt of the accomplishment of my desires. 2 suns had set, the 3rd dawned. I was agitated, fearful. O expectation, what a frightful thing art thou, when kindled more by fear than hope! How dost thou twist thyself around the heart, torturing its pulsations! How dost thou dart unknown pangs all through our feeble mechanism, now seeming to shiver us like broken glass, to nothingness, now giving us a fresh strength, which can do nothing, and so torments us by sensation, such as the strong man must feel who cannot break his fetters, though they bend in his grasp. Slowly paced the bright, bright orb up the eastern sky. Long it lingered in the zenith, and still more slowly wandered down the west. It touched the horizon's verge. It was lost. Its glories were on the summits of the cliff. They grew dun and grey. The evening star shone bright. He will soon be here. He came not. By the living heavens, he came not, and night dragged out its weary length, and, in its decaying age, day began to grizzle its dark hair, and the sun rose again on the most miserable wretch that ever upbraided its light. 3 days thus I passed. The jewels and the gold, oh, how I abhorred them! Well, well, I will not blacken these pages with demoniac ravings. All too terrible were the thoughts, the raging tumult of ideas that filled my soul. At the end of that time I slept. I had not before since the 3rd sunset, and I dreamt that I was at Juliet's feet, and she smiled, And then she shrieked, for she saw my transformation.